Rio, good morning.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Very good. Good to have you on board. Stuart Pearce is alongside Simon and myself.
Hi,
Rio,
guys.
straight into it, mate. Let's do it. Are we any the wiser as to what Ten Hag's United actually are?
No, not at all. I thought at the end of last season, you were sitting there and the optimism was there. Everyone was like, you know what, I'm getting an idea of what Man United are doing. They get their hands on one trophy, albeit probably the smallest one out of the lot, but it's still the same. It was a moment where you can build confidence from. And you go into the summer thinking, yeah, next season, I still didn't think we could win the league. I just thought we'd be closer, or that would have been definitely the aim. But I look at it now, and it's just, again, there's sagas, there's drama off the pitch, and there's drama on the pitch. There's no consistency or balance, and I do think that every single person that walks into the stadium at Old Trafford now, or any stadium that Man United play in, walk in and are just sitting there going, I don't know what I'm going to get today. And that can't be the place and a right thing for any football club, let alone a club that's spent near on £1 billion.
Where do you begin to lay the blame, Rio? Whose fault is it?
I don't think there's one place you can put the blame to. I think I've seen Gary and just go this about ownership, etc. I think there is a level of blame in different areas. I think, yes, the ownership definitely have to take some part of the blame in terms of who they put in certain positions and then recruitment and that element. But then obviously certain managers, when the managers come in, they haven't produced either. But then at the same time, these players have been the constant throughout that, who haven't produced as well. So I think there's blame across the board. But I think you do need to get the ownership and then the recruitment element and that background stuff sorted out to give the manager and then the team the ability to go out there and play and the foundations to go and play as well.
Is it fair to say, Stuart, and Simon will come in this no doubt as well, that part of the problem still lies with the Glazers, the fact they're still in situ? Is that fair? I mean, they're nowhere near the stadium on a match day and they're nowhere near the pitch.
They might be symptomatic to some of the problems. I always like to look at directly on the pitch, and there lies the problem for me. I look at United, they've got a world-class performer in Marcus Rashford, but he's symptomatic of United. If he plays well, United play well. If he doesn't play well, and there are times where he doesn't, they seem to, there's nothing there. I was at the Newcastle game a couple of weeks ago.
Isn't it the other way around? If United play well, he plays well. Isn't it the other way around?
Potentially, yes. Yeah. There's every chance that is the case. But the real critical lack of leadership, Rio, at United, I've watched them over the last year and a half, and I think I've seen them on at least 4 or 5 occasions throw the towel in. One of them games was Bayern Munich this year, where I thought they packed it in and they got lucky. They got a goal which got them back into the game and give them a little bit of oomph. But I've seen the team pack it in. I can't say I can say that about too many other teams in the Premier League at Rio.
Yeah, and that's the bit there is unforgivable. I think if you can accept that there's things going off the pitch, there's dramas here, there and everywhere which is going on, and there's little subplots and narratives elsewhere. But effort and desire and application are non-negotiables. There, Stuart, you know, you played the game. You go out there, they were like, if anybody called you up on anything like that in your performance, you would be embarrassed, your pride would be on the floor, you'd take it personally. I don't really feel that happens. It doesn't seem like that's happening because the reaction that I'm seeing isn't one of like, right, we ain't having that. We're going to go at them now. We're going to show people that we can run ourselves into the ground. And I think Sir Alex Ferguson, I hate to keep going back to it, but it was you have to when he was so good, but he used to love it as much as anything when an opposition manager would come into the change room after he's had his glass of wine with the opposing manager and go, guys, yeah, well done today, guys. You know what? I was so pleased that their manager has actually gone and said, you guys, as good as you are, world-class players you've got, but actually you run like a non-league team. Like, he loves stuff like that. And it's just that work ethic. These are basics, like, that you shouldn't even have to talk about. And as a player, you look yourself in the mirror and you go, do you know what? I ain't played well today. I made a mistake, and it was that reason and this reason. But
Rio, Stuart said Rashford's a world-class player. Is he?
No, he's not. He's world-class potential. I don't think he's a world-class player. He's not proved it for long enough. I think world-class, you get to a level and you sustain that over a period of time. But at the moment, he kind of comes in flurries. He has moments where you go, oh my, he takes your breath away. He does things that not many people on the planet can do, and he's great. But
Jimmy Carragher said more local lads at United should take more responsibility. Local lads, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think you do. I think you end up I think you should definitely take things more personally and then try and help that situation. I think that I still sit here and sometimes I catch myself have to go, actually, he's not a young kid anymore. He's an experienced player within that change room who's looked at as a leader. I think if I was him, being at the club for that long and the stature that status he's got in the game, I'd have been sitting there going, when the captaincy came up, I want to be having that armband. I should be in the shake-up for that armband. But because I think he's got the experience and the gravitas to do that. But no matter what you say, you can talk about being world-class or not. Just all of these players just go out there and graft. That's it. I remember another thing, like wide players. You look at wide players. I'm not saying that it's irrelevant of ability. None of the wide players, from Beckham, Giggs, Ronaldo, Nani, Valencia, etc., they didn't want to be on the same side of the pitch as where the gaffer was, because they would be drilled, like chasing back, running after people. Before you talk about ability and getting on the ball and crossing and assisting and scoring, you graft and you chase that fullback up and down that pitch and you make sure you run him into the ground. Then you can start playing your football. These fundamentals and basics don't seem to be there at the moment, and that's the crux of it. No matter what level you play at, from grassroots up to the first teams and non-league, etc., the non-negotiable is working.
Simon, if anyone is qualified to speak about Manchester United, it's Rio. And I totally get what he's saying. You know, like when Ferguson was in charge to now, the difference.
Yeah, I was going to ask Rio about the culture of the club, because I make a big deal about what it is to play for Manchester United. I had Steve Bruce as my manager that used to speak about the culture of Man United. And I wondered, Rio, when you look at this group of players, and I'm not looking for you to be clickbaity here, but when you look at this group of players and you look at the environment that you played in, the culture of playing for Man United, you were in the business of winning. You understood your responsibility. You knew what it was like to play for this club. Do you think that this group of players understand the responsibility that goes with playing with a football club that's had the significance and the achievements that Man United have had?
If you're looking at when you just look out on the pitch, I don't think so. It doesn't look like it. I don't know how it behind the scenes, but what I would say is that it looks to me that there ain't enough honest and tough conversations being had between the players. And that was, I think, any successful side you talk about in any sport, in any business, you know what it's like. Them uncomfortable, tough conversations have to be had, whether it's an argument, whether it is that conversation in a meeting room where you're pulling people up. I don't think there's enough people in that changing room who are willing to go out on a limb and put someone's nose out of joint a little bit, put someone's hair out of place a little bit with a comment about performance, about body language, about the desire that you're showing on the pitch. Like, we used to get, I'd love to be in there I want a video showing certain aspects of certain people's games as a team but as individuals, and embarrassing a few people in a meeting and saying, look at this, can you tell me that this is right? In a Man United shirt, that badge doesn't deserve for you to be walking there or to be allowing someone to walk past you and look not bothered and running out and jumping out of the shape that we've been working on all week and then leaving people vulnerable and with loads of space around them.
But who set those standards, Rio? I mean, you look at the names that have been in there, put David Moyes to one side, but you look at Van Gaal and Mourinho, that were proven winners, proven leaders. You know, then we've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the ridiculous assertion you made at the time that he's got the wheel. I think culturally he allowed the development of a bad attitude inside the club. But when you talk about the players taking responsibility and digging one another out, we talk about captains in your time. We talk about captains in times gone past and the clear embodiment of leadership. A lot's made about Bruno Fernandes. Without you being dragged into a debate about whether you think he's captain or not, I'm going to ask you, do you think Fernandes is a good leader of Man United?
Who else is there? That's the That's the biggest problem. I think you can say that he's either one that you fancy, you like, or you don't like, right? But then I look around. I reckon there'd be players in that change room that probably turn the chance to be a captain down and say, no, I don't want it.
Why do you think that is, Rio?
Because it's too big. It's too big. The pressure's too big. Don't want to be under the spotlight. Don't want to be the person that's got to go in front of the media. Like, don't want to have that responsibility. Whereas I think back in the day, and it is a different time, and there was more confidence because we were winning, but you'd have had a queue of people asking to be the captain. There were people that were disappointed not being picked as a captain when the captaincy come up. So I think, we have to, the context of what the club and where the club was then is different. But I think, again, if you look around all of the clubs in football, leadership is very different now to what it was. You can't there isn't many shouters, there isn't many great communicators and loud people and aggressive people willing to get people around the neck. There ain't many of them anymore. There were loads of them before. Stuart, you know this, you was one of them, Stuart. There were loads of those guys before. The way in which you lead now, the culture is very, very different. But at the same time, I don't think it matters in terms of uncomfortable conversations can be had in a different manner.
It's a huge week for you as well on TNT Sports. We'll get to that. But Bayern next for Manchester United, Rio, and then Liverpool. It doesn't get much bigger than that. And I'm looking at many of the messages coming in. Jim, ask Rio. For matches like this, is Ten Hag the man? Ask him overall, is Ten Hag the man generally?
Well, listen, I'm a little bit with Gary Neville on this in terms of, like, are you just going to keep changing managers, but the players are going out there and performing as well? I think, but with Ten Hag, I want to see a style of football. If I can't see a style of football, an identity, a philosophy of football, where you look at so many teams around the league, whether they're near the top or the bottom, you always know a Sean Dyche team when you see it. Because he puts his team out, you know he must be on the training field working at his team. Mate, I spoke to Ten Hag before the Galatasaray game and I said, why have we not seen a consistent performance from your team yet? And he said, well, I've had a lot of injuries. But at the same time, I still think that there's those players that are coming in, they're on the training ground as well. They're watching these training sessions, they're taking part, surely. Surely they've got to be able to fill in.
Is he worthy of more time, Rio?
I think on the basis of what I saw last season, yes. I think I agree with him. There has been a lot of injuries to big players and key players and a lot of players out of this team. So I would give him that.
Does he eclipse Klopp and Guardiola? Do you think Ten Hag eclipses Klopp and Guardiola?
I don't think Man United eclipse Guardiola and Klopp. I don't think it's that.
Ultimately, the manager. The reason why Man City.
Yeah, but like I said at the top of the show, it's not about just the manager. If you sack the manager and bring another manager in now, I reckon we'll still be here in 2 years saying the same thing.
But what is it then?
It's that it's got to be the culture at the football club's got to be set and changed. He's been trying to do that with this. He's been trying to do that with all of the sagas we've seen off the pitch, from taking the armband off of Maguire to the Ronaldo situation for Sancho, for Rashford at times as well. Discipline.
Do you think he's got the chops, Rio? Don't dance around it. Do you think he's got the chops to lead them away from the current malaise of a culture that's not strong enough to an environment where they give themselves an opportunity to challenge the leading 2 clubs in the country or leading 3 clubs in the country?
At this moment in time, I don't know. I actually don't know. I think you need to still give him I'd give him to the end of this season at least, right? But also within that, a new structure behind the scenes is imminently coming into this football club. I think that can have a real say on either his fortunes at the club, but also if he was to go and somebody else's, because I don't think a manager can come in here on his own and change things. It's been proven. There's been 5 or so managers that have come through the door, and all at different levels, all with different reputations, big, small, etc. Experience, some not, some have won loads, some have won a little bit, some have won nothing, and all failed. It can't be just the manager all the time. We can't just keep sitting here and going, oh, it's the manager, it's the manager. The players all stay the same, keep recruiting the same way we do. The ownership stays the same, but it's just the manager.
Graham Souness sat in this studio last week and said the demise, the malaise at Manchester United is very much embodied by one Anthony Martial. I mean, you know the club inside out. You certainly know Manchester United more than anybody. Is that right? Do you agree with that?
It's hard to put it down onto one player's shoulders as being that player signifies what's wrong at the club. But I think just the performance that we saw was at Newcastle, where we were looking at it and going, well, absolutely bullied off the pitch. 3 teams that I can think of have come to Man United and absolutely popped Man United off the pitch. Palace, Wolves, and then Bournemouth at the weekend. Smashed us all over the place. And you're thinking, like, this isn't the way that Man United history, this isn't allowed. But I can't go, it's just down to there's one player who embodies it. I think the whole team, the squad, the culture at the club at the moment, you look at it and go, this isn't what a Man United team or squad looks like or should look like at all.
Yeah, but even when Sir Jim Ratcliffe's involvement in the football club eventually becomes public, is much going to change? Because so much we hear, oh, it's the ownership, everything comes from the top. I mean, everything comes from the first whistle when a match starts, Rio, and that's down to the players, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's on the pitch where you do your talking as well. But listen, I was at the club when David Gill was there. His influence can never be undervalued. the respect. I still call the man Mr. Gill, and he says, "I'm David. Call me." I can't. There's a respect level because of the way he carried himself, the way he managed things, the way he managed the manager, managed the players. Took no shit. Sorry for swearing, but like that starts somewhere. That all starts somewhere. Do you know what I mean? And that's near the top.
Yeah.
And he was very visible. We see him. He was in the training ground. He was at the games. Like you're having conversations. There was a human element, a human touch to it. So it isn't just about the manager. I saw and felt when Sir Alex Ferguson left the club, there definitely was a drop. But at the same time, David Gill was a key part of that as well, and he went at the same time.
Do you fear Liverpool for United this weekend?
Well, based on the last result, which was 7-0, yeah, I do. The last time we were there. So I'm just hoping that... Listen, Bruno Fernandes is suspended for that game. He got a booking at the weekends. But so I'm just looking at him thinking, wow, is he going to go and thicken that midfield up now with a bit more physicality and just make us hard to play against and hard to beat, rather than trying to go there and go like a... You attack, we attack.
Who's the United captain then at Anfield?
You'd think it would be Harry Maguire, given that he was the last captain, but I don't know. I don't know who he'll go with. Like I say, there ain't many names jumping off that team sheet that you go, okay, well, Luke Shaw maybe. There ain't many more that you're looking at and going, okay, first of all, he'd won it, let alone if he's actually capable.
Rio, do you think that the recent history, and when I say recent history of United, I'm talking about the Alex era and the Chelsea era of Mourinho and the like, is a millstone around both clubs' necks at the moment?
Maybe there is that pressure, but at the same time, I walked into Manchester United and I'm sitting around people that have won 5-6 Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues, and I'm walking in the corridors and brushing shoulders with Sir Bobby Charlton. That's pressure as well. You've got to maintain those standards. It's different pressure, but it's still a pressure. So, and when you sign for a club of the magnitude of Man United, expect pressure. Don't be surprised when it hits you on your nose after for 2 months. Expect it, embrace it, and meet it head on. And I think that's got to be the culture shift. I think far too often it looks like, oh, we're being criticised and we shouldn't be criticised, and oh, that's a bit out of order, and let's protect people, and listen, I understand about mental health and all these things, yeah, but when you're just being critiqued for your performance, take that on the chin and work it.
I mean, we heard last week, Rio, that 1 or 2 journalists from 1 or 2 organisations were out until they're back in, because there was a suggestion that there were 1 or 2 players within the squad who were saying, no, don't like Ten Hag's methods. We've got to do this. We've got us running too much. Don't like it. Do you think there's an element of truth in that?
I think there will be, but I don't think that's too dissimilar to any time at any club, mate. Listen, Stu, how many did every player enjoy your methods? They don't. Not every player. Chicharito every other week was sitting there going, I can't believe I'm not starting. I scored 2 at the weekend and I'm starting again. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have probably said the same thing. It's a love-hate sometimes with your manager and what they do, and I think that's the case at every club, whether you're winning or you're middle table or you're losing. It's just obviously because at Man United it's not going well now. That's going to be a story, but trust me, every single club. There'll be players at Man City now. Do you think Calvin Phillips is happy? Do you think he's going to sit there and go, oh, Pep Guardiola is brilliant and he's been great for me? There's going to be players that are unsettled.
There's one question coming in from you, no name on it. Jim asked Rio before he goes, on current form, does Rashford make it to Germany next summer for England?
Current form, it'd be very difficult to say that. I think he probably still goes in the squad because of what he's probably done in the past, maybe, and that's the way Gareth is. But on current form, he definitely doesn't start. I don't think Marcus Rashford would sit here and say that on current form that he should start.
Sure thing. Listen, tell us about this holiday giveaway from your 5 YouTube channel, which is going very well for you.
Yes, it's going amazing. We just got to 1 million subscribers. I think we're just edging up to it now. So we thought we'd do a little giveaway for some of the people that have been supporting us and following us and subscribing. And if you don't, make sure you do. But yeah, we've got a number of prizes. We've got a Ronaldo Man United shirt that we've gone and got from him that's signed and sealed. One of my shirts that I played in is going to be kind of given away to a winner. Also a holiday. They go to Portugal for a family of 4. And they can go there through another business I work with called Football Escape. So go online, have a look, get into Vibe with 5.
We're cutting into your valuable time. we've taken a lot of your time from 11 till 11:30.
No worries. You know what I always say when I see you guys on the road and I see Simon, I always say I'll come on. But no, I'd love to come on again. So let's make something happen. Let's get into it.
And you always snivel away and never come on.
No, I'm a busy man. I'm a busy man. But I will come on. I'm true to my word. I will. And I want a bit of a back and forth with Simon. I see him do it with a few other people. Eddie Hearn, and I need to see. Or does he not feel he can compete with me? What's going on?
I don't feel you're much of a challenge.
That's what we're like. Rio, thank you so much. Rio Ferdinand joining us with a pledge to join us again sometime very soon.